Hello. I wanted to do this video on, and I want to make it brief, but I wanted to talk about energy and dimensions and some of the things that we go through when we are ascending into or awakening our consciousness to more. We are all multi-dimensional beings here on the planet, and we typically live in a sea of various energies and energies of duality. There's light, there's dark, there's good, there's evil, however you want to call it. Yet many of us are going through the process of ascension into the higher dimensions. And typically, and I'm only speaking from my personal experience and some of the teachings and understandings that were brought to me that resonated with my experiences, as well as some of the messages that I channel. So typically, when we're originally born, we are connected to the fifth dimensional state of unity consciousness. However, abruptly, or however it happens for you, through our lifespan, we are brought into more of the density of the third dimension to experience separation through traumas, through our conditioned family and societies, religions, the programmings that we get through education, and so forth and so on. And then typically there is usually an abrupt, but not for everybody, an abrupt awakening that happens, and everybody's individual journey here is different. But when we start to awaken our consciousness to more, we're typically brought into the fourth dimensional reality. This is where we really experience a multitude of experiences, light and dark, good and evil. This is also where all of the archetypes, archangels, Jesus, God, all of the belief systems derive from. And it can be really tricky for many people who tend to get stuck in some of these fourth dimensional planes of existence. When we get stuck in certain belief systems, there's been a lot of false light, meaning you find someone or something that resonates with your current state of being, and yet you feel indebted to it or them, such as having to worship or pray or follow certain rules and guidelines to get to unity consciousness, to get to God consciousness, source consciousness. Basically, it's unity consciousness. A lot of times through that journey, we'll reach the fifth dimension, and it's amazing. It's amazing. You feel whole, you feel oneness with everyone and everything on the earth. And I just have the chills now speaking about it, because it is heaven on earth. However, depending on your journey, and we go through these trials and tribulations to learn, but a lot of times we get brought back into the fourth and even third dimensions, so we rise and fall through the journey. This is also where I want to start to talk about our energy, which is linked to our emotional body, which is driven by the thought processes from our brain, from our past and our current experiences, and how we're perceiving them. So right now, in the energy that we're in right now, as my light keeps blinking at me, I'll talk about, let's just use electronics as an example. It can be anything though. So we're always tested and challenged in everything as well to learn and grow through our evolutionary process. But take electronics, for example. Think about a time, a day where you're in either unity consciousness or you're in the light side of fourth dimensional consciousness. And so you're just breezing by your day, and you need to go on your computer or your phone to do something, but you're not really thinking ahead about it. You're just in the flow, and it seems to flow really nicely for you. That is because your energy, you're in flow with your energy. Now, think about a time where you have to, say you're still in fourth dimensional consciousness, and say you're still connected to the lighter side of fourth dimensional consciousness. But there's something you have to do. I'll just use like log into like your bank account or something that, you know, sort of is a drag to begin with for the third dimensional responsibilities. And so you go to do that, and suddenly you're tested. Suddenly your password's not being taken, or something's not working for you, and you get frustrated. Suddenly your energy shifts. When your energy shifts, it also affects what you're working with electronically, and that just snowballs into things not working, right? I used to have a vehicle, a car, that would test me a lot, and it would randomly lock me inside the car, and I could not get out, and the alarms would go off if I tried to get out. So it would let me start the car back up. I could drive around with the alarms going off, but I could not get out of the car. And this happened for about a year. I had it looked at by multiple mechanics, and nobody could figure it out. Now, the times I reflect back, the times where I thought it was just funny, and I'm like, okay, it didn't last very long, and it would unlock and let me out. But when I would get frustrated or tense or stressed about it, that's when it kept me locked in the car for quite some time, until I would have to call somebody to come help me. So this is how energy works. It's reflecting off of our energy. So we interact with everything in the third dimension, which everything on this planet is made of energy. And we can have some real magical experiences, but we have to be in the right state of consciousness, and to not fall prey to the frustration, the anger, the fear. That energy is going to perpetuate things not working out for you, things not working out for us, things breaking, all kinds of things like that. It also works that way when we interact with each other, as well as anything within this cosmic plane here on Earth of duality, of density, because we're not going to get out of that, but we can raise our frequency, raise our consciousness to high fourth dimension or fifth dimension, and really flow through life with great ease. Not to say there are not tests. There certainly are. There are actually more complex and more complicated tests that we go through when our consciousness is elevated, our vibration is elevated, which, if we drop our frequency, if we drop our consciousness, can really have a spiral way back down to third dimensional consciousness, fear, anger, sadness, all of those sensations. So it's for anybody out there who is confused as to why things sometimes work in a beautiful, perfect ease and flow one day, and the next day it's complete chaos and not working for you. This is why. And I will talk a little bit more about the false light, which is basically fourth dimensional. We can get attached to certain beings, certain entities, and light or dark, certain entities, beings, even guidance will guide us so far. But when we become too over-reliant on that and not to use our own discernment, use our own energy to live our lives, a lot of times the higher dimensional beings or archetypes or entities will kind of step back, because it's part of the training ground. It's I used to call it taking the training wheels off. It's time for me to try to do this on my own without calling in a specific entity, being, archetype, archangel, whatever works for you, whatever you're connecting to. That's not to say that they're still not there with us. They are. And the more we acknowledge and understand this, the more we can flow with ease in life, knowing that we're not alone, that our guidance and protection is with us. However, it's up to us. So if you find yourself constantly calling on angels, archangels, ascended masters, to be with you, guide you, hold your hand through every single moment of your life, and suddenly you feel like you've been dropped, that you don't have that. It's not that they've gone away. It's your turn to take all of what you've learned, take the courage and the understanding, and flow with it on your own. Yeah, and I'm getting a lot more messages about that now. Let me feel where I lost it. And I do also want to talk about, a lot of times when we're going through ascension, when we're brought into the fourth dimension to experience the metaphysical world, the otherworldly experiences, there's a variety of emotions that we will go through, and some people fear it, and what you fear will reflect back as that, as well as what we admire or look up to or put on a pedestal will appear as that. It's always a reflection on our interaction with things. There's always guidance. We're never alone here. When we are in the third dimensional density separation consciousness, that's when the fear, the doubt, the worry, feeling crazy, all of those things arise. And, sometimes we have to go through those channels to realize that it really was just me all along. That was, are my thoughts, my beliefs, the energy that's tied to that is creating everything, always. And that is really, if I could put one main message out there, it is always a cosmic reflection on us. Not to say there aren't tests, but you'll feel it. You almost feel it if you're really connected to yourself, your higher self, and understanding discernment and your intuitive senses. You'll know when a test is coming, and you can kind of just calm back down and, oh, okay, this is a test. Sometimes I step away, take a breather, focus on something else, go for a walk, come back, and everything is fine. That works for me most of the time. I'm not perfect either. I fall. We all do. But I get right back up on that horse, because it is all I know at this point, and it's all I ever want to experience in this life again at this point. Rising from the third dimensional separation, I call it my personal hell. I know I don't want to go back there. And if I do, I certainly don't want to stay for very long. And this is just within consciousness, within my, how I see the world, how I see every minute of every day, every experience that I have, every interaction that I have, is my experience through these different dimensional portals. And we have cosmic influences that will take us through beautiful experiences and challenging experiences. And the more that we're aware of that as well, the better. The last thing I want to touch on with this, and with energy specifically, that pertains to more of our current worldly experiences here, is that I personally do not watch the news. Every now and then I'm given the news, or I'll peek just to see what is actually, what are people being exposed to, what is going on out there, what are people going through. But knowing that there are wars, there is suffering and pain, knowing that things are chaotic and unfair and unjust, I also am fully aware that with energy and with consciousness, the more of us that can come together in unity consciousness with an intention to create energetically great change, the better. There was, back in the 80s, the harmonic convergence. There's been many moments in history, in time, where groups of people would unite all over the world at a specific time to meditate and to combine the intent and the energy for peace, for unity, for love. We have escaped wars. We have escaped detriment in the past from doing this. So I'm here to tell you that the more and more of us that can get out of being trapped in some fourth dimensional reality, which feels and seems very real. That's the trick there. When we can rise out of that and know that there are universal laws, but our bodies, our essence is attuned to universal laws naturally. So if anybody or any entity or any being is telling you that you must worship, that you must follow these specific rules, that you must, you should, be very discerning of that, and it's not against them. It is the ego being attached to false light energy, false light entities. So even the person who could be emulating out the false light may have good intentions, but there's an ego part within them that desires this control, desires power, desires to be admired and looked up to. Those are the things you want to be very, very discerning with, especially as we continue to ascend into new consciousnesses, new dimensions. I'm personally finding that this is really starting to open up more and more. I think that that's all I'm going to share for right now, but be mindful of your energy when you're interacting with anything on the planet. If there's any underlying sadness, anger, frustration, fear, worry, doubt, that may be reflected back to you by whatever it is that you're working with, whether it be electronics, whether it be a vehicle, whether it be plants, whether it be whatever, another person. I've experienced this many times with other people. And when I shift out of being defensive, like defending myself, having to stick up for myself, I mean, sure, stand up for yourself, but then let that go. Because if you hold on to this person's thinking this of me, it's going to constantly be reflected back, and they're going to feel that energy too. So we all have a responsibility to our own energy, our own thoughts and emotions, and how we perceive our experiences. And I'm also here to tell you that it's not easy, but it is very possible to elevate into fifth dimensional consciousness and stay there while still participating in life here on the planet. That is that saying, be in the world, but not of it. That is the ultimate goal for all souls here, have incarnated here. Not everybody has signed up for that goal in this lifetime, so be aware of that too. We don't want to judge anybody for where they're at, what they're engaging with, what they are putting out, but we don't have to entangle ourselves in with that. That is that the less we entangle ourselves in with others and their entanglements, the better. The more we can elevate and rise above, not saying we're better than anybody else, but step back from whatever chaotic situations are going on and see it from a higher perspective, the better, because our energy matters more than we are aware of. It is everything, everything. So I'm sending you out so much love. Take care. Bye.